It makes a lot of sense to cluster social networks based on user behavior, because we don't do the same thing on all platforms. And not all platforms have the same opportunities to achieve the same goals or to peddle the same content. That's why we're now structuring the social networks according to usage behavior. Our first usage behavior is they are looking for something. You may know this from YouTube. You enter something in this search bar above because you need the solution to a problem. You want to know how to build a shelf or how a specific recipe works. There are also other platforms where we are looking for something. We want to know, what does the hotel actually look like? How could I furnish my kitchen? And so on and so forth. Only what we get in terms of content comes from users, user-generated content. Others give us the inspiration and the solution, and it doesn't necessarily have to be the glossy content from brands. Sometimes authentic content from other users appears much more credible. A second pattern of use is distraction. We are bored in a video conference, we got stuck in the subway, got stuck on the train, or just sitting on the couch and don't want to clean up. We procrastinate, spend time on something else, supposedly better. Maybe we won't be able to get away from it anymore and scroll from top to bottom and won't be able to get away from social networks anymore. This behavior is a very, very big user behavior in social networks, if not the biggest. Most users are not actually looking for anything on social media, but are completely devoid of needs and just somewhere. And a third pattern of use that we have is in dialogue with others. These are messenger platforms like WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger or Snapchat, or also messenger services from Instagram or the LinkedIn messaging function, where we are in dialogue with others, whom we may ask for a solution to something, or simply chat with them and send funny or supposedly interesting content back and forth. These are 3 usage scenarios, and it is often the case that we consume much less content in social networks than we communicate with content. That means we send funny pictures, send each other a link to something, and thus drive the social networks like a promotional item through this world. And very often it is the case that much less is searched for than much more is discovered. And that's why it's very important to ask yourself, for which of the 2 usage behaviors do I actually have the appropriate content? Am I non-linear or linear on the way? So, to explain that briefly, non-linear, that means I go to a library, I go to the video store, I browse through a catalog. So I have a usage behavior that starts somewhere, for example with a search, with a very specific need. So this is someone who uses the search function and catalogs on a digital platform and has a very specific need. Or is it someone who is linear on the go, who perceives personalized suggestions in a social media offer and lets themselves be surprised by content? For which of these 2 usage scenarios do you have the content? Do you have explanatory videos, for example? You have already done everything wrong by positioning yourself on Facebook. Because on Facebook, no one is looking for the solution to a problem. On Facebook, we stumble upon content. So explainer videos that can solve a problem are a great content for YouTube. But it also means that they really have to solve the problem. I want to be able to solve it myself. These contents may then need to be produced as a landscape video. But if I upload these contents in landscape format on Facebook or on Instagram, I have already done everything wrong, because there we probably consume contents more likely in portrait format and probably stumble over them as well. More on this later in the formats. So this is a very important point. That means the social networks that we use there differ fundamentally. For example, you can mention YouTube or a platform like Pinterest for search offers, where we discover topics through images, and platforms where we stumble upon content and find a lot of inspiration. For example, platforms like TikTok or the good old Facebook. Let's take a closer look at these usage scenarios. Non-linear versus linear use of social media offerings. So again, the situation is crucial. Is he or she looking for a solution to a problem? Very important, we cannot describe the solution, we can only describe the problem. Therefore, your keywords, your search terms, must also be designed so that they can be searched for. So I can't search for the word Power Duster 3000 if I have a dust allergy. I can only Google what to do against house dust allergy and then find the appropriate YouTube video. So put yourself in the user's problem, not in the solution of what your product is called. Think about the products. Think from the solution approach and not from the product title. Very, very important. The second target group is in a different situation. She is now bored on her smartphone, and she needs inspiration. Can you possibly present the same content to this target group differently? As an example, someone is searching on YouTube for a painting tutorial for a unicorn. The others on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok are thinking, wow, you've never painted a unicorn like this before. So I can possibly reposition the same article, the same post, the same topic, just differently. Once as an explanation and once as inspiration. We also have a completely different motivation in these situations. That means someone who has a problem wants to solve it themselves. So we don't need an explanatory video that tells us to consult a lawyer or a consultant. The problem must also be solved. A very, very big problem with many explanatory videos is that they only say that something exists, but not how to solve it. I'll give you an example. Just look on YouTube for tutorials on a suitcase with a combination lock. From the major manufacturers, there are incredibly great videos showing that their suitcases have a combination lock. The trashy content from users, user-generated, shows you how you can program them. There are videos of the glossy companies having a fully automatic coffee machine. There are videos from users on how to clean it. And this is the big part where brands have to rethink, saying, okay, what content can we present that helps users solve their problem themselves? In social networks, where we have a newsfeed like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, we don't have these problems. We are looking for inspiration. We stumble upon something and think, wow, I've never experienced that before. Wow, that's exciting. There is a hashtag called TikTok made me buy it. These are products that you never searched for but discovered there and then said, wow, I want to have that. You stumble over something and think to yourself, look at that. I didn't even know that existed. So if there was ever a hammer with adjustable force, I wouldn't be looking for it because I didn't even know it existed, but I would probably discover this product in the linear offers. We also have different platforms, as I've already mentioned. So, to list them. When we are looking for something, we usually go to Google. Google is not yet a social network, but together with YouTube, it is actually one of the largest social networks. Sometimes we are on Pinterest, an image search platform, but we are also in the good old forums, bulletin boards and stuff like that. Or for example, also in Facebook groups, which have massively changed the forum landscape. If we don't search, then we are in linear offers. And these linear offers are mostly accompanied by personalized homepages. For You page is called that on TikTok. Or the newsfeed of Instagram and Facebook, or Twitter's newsfeed, now called X. There we discover content that we didn't search for. Also, the homepage of LinkedIn in the business offering is a homepage where we don't search, but we simply stumble upon the status updates of other people or the posts of brands. Also, our behavior is completely different on these platforms. If we have a problem and we are looking for the solution, then we are ready to stay with it for a long time. Also, YouTube has a very long dwell time. It is not a problem at all to get a video with a 45-minute duration there. This becomes much more difficult on Facebook and Instagram, so wherever we have a need, we invest a lot of time. Where we simply find inspiration, we invest much less time and are very quickly on to the next topic. In addition, if we can solve a problem on YouTube or Pinterest, we will also continue along the path. That means maybe we end up on the corporate website, maybe we order the product, maybe we claim a service, maybe we call someone. That means these offers are suitable for guiding us much deeper into the so-called funnel, where a so-called conversion, a conclusion, can take place at the bottom. In linear offers, it is much more difficult to immediately bring people to a conclusion. There we often have to reach them multiple times before they even get to know us. But the linear offers, with their short dwell time, with their fast moment, the micro moments, are excellently suited to achieve, for example, much higher attention. Because in the other platforms, I have to know that you exist first, so that I can search for you afterwards. In the linear offers, I simply discover you, even though I didn't know you existed. So, in summary, Please consider what kind of content you want to create for these two usage behaviors. Do you create explainer videos? That can be found through good keywords. Do you also generate videos, for example? This is very, very important. Or diagrams that explain something? Or are you entertaining people? Are you inspiring people? Do you have short content that needs to work on these fast social media platforms? This is the first essential question. Let's take a closer look at the non-linear content. There we have the user in the middle, and this user has a need. We need to focus on that. She tries to solve this need on a platform, has a positive or negative experience, and that decides whether she chooses this provider or not. So, as an example, you are thirsty. Take this example, then you reach for a carafe on the Flash platform and have a negative experience there, because unfortunately it is only a prop, which is unfortunately currently empty. And accordingly, I have a negative experience with the provider, colleague, who placed an empty carafe on the table for me or myself. Let's make it a little less jokey. You are looking for a product. You bought something and don't know how it works. You have the need and want to adjust it properly. You go into the YouTube platform and see no suitable content or content from other users who say it doesn't work properly. That can't work. They also have the problem. Then you have already had a negative experience with this provider. Or the other way around, you have a problem, find someone who shows you the solution. Great user experience. And you discover in this way a provider who is exactly right for you. And it doesn't matter at all whether you have tangible products like a notebook or an abstract product like insurance, or if you want to advertise a profession, looking for applicants. So you have to think away from the user's needs. What do they need? And can you satisfy this need on the platform you are currently using and create a positive experience for these users? But very often we do not start from the center of this circle. So we don't focus on the users, but rather we think from the product, from the brand. And we think, wow, what could we as an external provider have thought of to create an experience? How could we use a platform like TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn for this? And what need could we awaken in the users with that? Much, much more difficult to achieve because now we don't have this reach for free. Because this need-driven, this search volume makes it much easier for us to reach people who would really take something off our hands. With the other one, we first have to present ourselves like hotcakes, which is much, much more difficult. And that's why we have a completely different optimization for linear offers. Here we have to provide inspiration. We must try to connect people to us. We must try to build a community. And we may need to specifically address people through targeting, either with content that its users find themselves or through advertising. That means inspiration is about introducing the topic. It's about making your theme worlds tangible. The community is about strengthening the sense of community, getting in touch with people who enjoy much higher trust in these target groups than you do, and possibly working together with them to really hit the nerve of this target group with your content. The binding is about increasing loyalty among users so that they may become your fans and followers and say, yes, I would like to have more of this content, please. Targeting is about identifying target audience segments through special content. Because there are people who may be your target audience, but maybe with different needs or different usage behavior. And the good old persona won't help you anymore. That means you have to look much more closely. How can I target audiences much more accurately in personalized offers? But we can also think about it further from the corporate structure. Where do you actually reach people with your content in social networks? And there we have a first structure, and these are the so-called own media. This is your own Facebook page, your own Instagram channel, your own LinkedIn page, your own YouTube channel. So always where you can decide for yourself what content is available there, create this content completely on your own, and also manage the channel independently. These don't necessarily have to be pages from companies. Even I, as a person, can have my own page, owned media, my own LinkedIn channel, my LinkedIn profile, my personal Instagram channel, and so on and so forth. But I decide what happens on my Facebook profile and no one else. However, there is also the possibility of doing social media without actually doing social media, and this is the so-called earned communication or earned media. This means that you have received mentions on social networks even though you are not present there. I'll give you a short example. Imagine you were Disneyland, and there would only be photos of Disneyland on the official Disneyland Instagram channel. Among us, how shitty would this park be? No one would go in there. But it's exactly the other way around. We see thousands of pictures on foreign Instagram channels, photographing the castle, the attractions, Mickey Mouse and Minnie and Donald Duck and Captain Buzz Lightyear and someone always. So, the experience that others have with this brand in this world dominates the representation in social networks, and not what the brand itself does. Let's stick to the topic of tourism. When you look at a hotel on the hotel website, everything is always glossy. But what does the Instagram channel look like if I'm not looking for the hotel, but the geo-position around this hotel? What kind of photos did people take there? Do I see the hotel in the same beautiful light, or is the paint peeling there? What if people unpack their products, do unboxings of a new phone they bought, or test drive their car for the first time, or show their clothes, their fashion for the first time? Then they don't do it on the official channel of a brand, but they do it on very small-scale channels, many channels, where they show it. Very authentic. Maybe not always positive, maybe not always completely negative, but that's exactly the crucial thing. How many mentions does your brand, your product, your service receive on foreign social media channels, and is the sentiment positive, negative, or neutral? This is something that should definitely be measured in social media monitoring. How do I actually stand there? And if my product is supposed to be on everyone's lips but there are no mentions there, then that is also an indication that I still need to expand my brand awareness. Next area, the so-called shared media. This is very similar to earned media, but it is the combination of owned and earned, if you will. So, you mean that as a brand, you have posted content on your Instagram channel, your Facebook channel, your LinkedIn channel, or published a YouTube video, and others share this video one-to-one in their target audience. Then it is called shared media. And this is actually a very original form of how brands have used social networks. You have built on virality. Virality means that other content is shared and thus ensures reach. That's always a little bonus you have. The basic range will probably come from other effects and not from virality. But ultimately, viral can be translated very nicely with shared media. There is still a fourth area that we can also mention, and that is the paid media offering, i.e. traditional advertising. However, it is not that classical at all, because in social networks, it is highly personalized, and one of the most modern advertising systems has emerged in recent years, for example at Facebook and at Google with YouTube. That means, here we can highlight our content as a paid advertisement. And now comes the trick, let's try to combine all of this. We may try to collaborate with users, influencers, brand ambassadors, and see how we can convey our message on their channels. If they have little reach, we can help ourselves and highlight these contents as paid advertisements instead of highlighting our own contents. We can also highlight our own content, for example in the target groups that our earned media users have prepared for us beforehand, or our shared media users. And you can already tell, now it's getting a bit more complex. Now we come from behind through the chest into the eye, and to keep it from getting too complex, we have another separate chapter where it's all about paid media and how we place personalized advertising in social networks. First of all, as a brief overview, owned, shared, earned, and paid media offerings. That's how they are typically structured in your company. And now, next in this course, let's take a look at what the individual social media offerings look like.